he took it out.
PFT Tuesday edition. Chris Simms, Mike Florio, getting to some things that we either talked about during PFT Live or didn't talk about, or talked about a little bit and would like to talk about some more. And that's where we start today. Cam Newton's destination. We had the odds via, I think it was FanDuel, for where Cam Newton will play. The Patriots were the favorite. The Jaguars, the next team on the list. Teams like the Steelers pop up there. And Chris, you know, we were talking about the Patriots. I don't see it. Scott Pioli, the former VP of Player Personnel, a few weeks ago said that there's just a philosophical, or as you would say, philosophical-wise clash between Bill Belichick and Cam Newton. Belichick is football, football, football. Cam Newton is football / entertainment / icon / things other than football, but still a really good football player. I don't know that that is an irreconcilable difference between the two, but the bigger picture is they're set with Stidham. They don't have the cap space to sign Cam Newton, and we still don't know whether or not Cam Newton's healthy. And I think from Bill Belichick's perspective, he wants to know, even though the train can't move yet, I think he wants to know who's going to be on the train. And he's got his guys on the train, patiently awaiting the opportunity for the train to start rolling.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Mike. I just don't see Cam Newton being a fit there in New England. And even though, we know New England's got a bunch of geniuses on the coaching staff and certainly can formulate some offense around Cam Newton, I think this is something that would have been done already by now, because they would have started attacking free agency in the draft to fill a certain need to run the Cam Newton type of offense that's going to be different than Jarrett Stidham. New England, just in my history working there and playing for Josh McDaniels with the Denver Broncos, there is a philosophical belief in building your team and framing it around the quarterback and what you want to be going into that year. And I think the Patriots have already started down. Jarrett Stidham's the general of our ship, and we're putting the pieces around him to make that formula work the right way. And that's where it's interesting with Cam Newton. It's just amazing. Again, Carolina screwed over Cam Newton. They screwed him over. And now it is going to be very tough for him to find a team, because nobody's going to want to bring Cam Newton as the backup when every day the team's going to walk off the field going, damn, our backup looks a lot better than our starter. Damn, our backup is throwing lasers everywhere today. Damn, our backup can move and run around. And that's just going to cause problems within the locker room, and teams are going to be wary of that.
And I agree with you that they did screw him in that they tried too hard to get something of value in return via trade. They waited too long. They should have realized they weren't going to get anything. They should have cut him. It was a bad look. But how different would the outcome have been for Cam Newton if he had been cut in February? He can't pass a physical. Now, you know what? How it would have been different? I'm kind of talking myself through this. If you cut him back when you cut, if you cut him when you cut Greg Olsen, then you can check him out. Now, that's no guarantee he was going to pass a physical, but he at least would have had a chance to get into some facilities and get examined before the world turned upside down. Not that anyone really knew what was coming, but he at least would have had a few weeks to start a free agency tour, go visit some teams, get a physical taken, and see where he is. So maybe he would have had a team before the facilities all slammed shut in early March. So I answered my own question just by kind of thinking out loud. Other teams that were identified, we talked about the Patriots. The Jaguars we talked about during the show. You and I both believe they're not as sold on Gardner Minshew II as maybe they want us all to think they are. And I think part of that is selling to the fans. Gardner Minshew jerseys, Gardner Minshew gear. They love what Gardner Minshew brings from a marketing perspective, even if they haven't fully fallen in love, Chris, with what he can do as a quarterback.
No, and that's a very real aspect of this conversation, too. They see potential. They see a fan base that rallied around a player that, has a look and a style about him that just resonates with everybody there. So there is value in that. But I would just still say, too, let's not forget, we did bench Gardner Minshew last year at one point and brought Nick Foles back in, and Cam Newton was the MVP of football just 4 years ago. That's, to me, where, again, if I'm Jacksonville and I start to get through the offseason here and start to get wind that Cam Newton is healthy and maybe we can get a physical on him, I would think they're going to revisit this conversation. Gardner Minshew is going to sell tickets. and jerseys. I think Cam Newton's going to sell more of them. I do, especially there. Now, the other question too is, Mike, does the new coaching staff, does a guy like Jay Gruden, does he want a guy like Cam Newton to be his quarterback? Does he fit within that style of offense? Maybe they feel like they're going to be too far down the road to make that type of move, and Minshew fits that West Coast system better than Cam Newton. Maybe they do. But I would also like to think Jay Gruden's creative enough to find ways to make it work with Cam Newton.
And if any veteran players in Jacksonville would like to get traded, just go public and say you want Cam Newton instead of Gardner Minshew. That worked for Leonard Fournette. It probably wouldn't work for Yannick Ngakoue, but it definitely worked for Leonard Fournette. But, I think from a basic, fundamental, who is better when healthy, I think it's foolish to say that Gardner Minshew is better than Cam Newton. Of course, Cam Newton would be better. The question is, can he get healthy? Can he stay healthy? Can you afford him from a cap standpoint? And how long is he going to be the answer? Is it a short, limited window? Is he a guy that's going to be around for 5 or 7 years? But, it's a year-to-year proposition in the NFL. And until you have that young quarterback, Chris, that you fully and firmly believe in, why not go get a veteran who has proven he can get it done if he's available?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Plus, again, I do think his skill set would fit with the talent they have around him in Jacksonville. Again, it's Jay Gruden. Yes, Jay Gruden likes to run the football. He has a pretty good inventory of play action passes. You talk about Leonard Fournette, and then you get into the receiver component with them, with DJ Shark and Dede Westbrook and some other under the radar talented receivers they have there. I do think his skill set would fit the team and the way Doug Marrone wants to play. I think Doug wants to play defense, run the football. He's an ex-O-line coach, an O-lineman himself, control the ball that way. So there is some certain value, I think, to what Cam Newton could bring to the table there. So Jacksonville is the one that jumps out to me the most. Mike, you two brought up Pittsburgh Steelers on the show, and I think there's a lot of thought there, too, to where I like what you said. Ben Roethlisberger is getting to the age where it's a little scary. An injury like that is a little scary, too. We saw Jake Delhomme have that same injury and never really quite be the same guy. And if I'm the Steelers and Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert and, people kind of sometimes put their butts on the hot seat, I'm going, man, I'm not letting Big Ben get hurt, get me fired here. I'm not going to let Mason Rudolph or Duck Hodges get me fired either. I'm going to bring Cam Newton onto this team because if Big Ben does get hurt, we think we have a Super Bowl contender, and then we still have a Super Bowl contending type quarterback.
Yeah, I think you have to wait until Roethlisberger gets hurt to do it. I don't think Newton in the building with Roethlisberger is going to be good for anyone.
No, it would be delicate.
If it would happen, the 4 teams of the AFC North would all have Heisman-winning quarterbacks: Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, and Cam Newton. So not that I want to see Ben Roethlisberger anywhere but under center for the Steelers, but I think that makes the most sense for Cam Newton. Other teams that are on this list of odds from FanDuel, and again, it's Patriots minus 190, Jaguars plus 300, Steelers plus 750. Then it gets up to 4 digits. The Broncos at plus 1,000. I would not take a flyer on that one. Drew Lock is their guy. Unless something happens to Drew Lock, he retires, right? Or has some sort of a freak virtual workout injury. If he injures his thumb while trying to hook up his computer so he can participate in a meeting with Pat Shurmur, Drew Lock is the guy in Denver. They are not bringing Cam Newton to Denver, Chris, under any set of circumstances other than Drew Lock, like I said, retiring.
No, exactly right. They're in the process of what we're seeing, giving Drew Lock the type of artillery around him that's going to make that offense explosive. And yeah, they're too far down the line now. And you have something big time in Drew Lock. I think he showed both you and me, and I'm sure John Elway, that, whoa, this kid could be something. He should have been drafted in the first round last year. He was a first round talent. He's another case of a guy, Mike, where if he came out the year before where he led college football in touchdown passes, he was going to be a top 15 pick. But guess what happened? The team fell apart, and we blamed him. Gosh, he couldn't block, catch, play defense, and coach the team. Guess we can't take him in the first round. So, yeah, I'm with you. There's no way that happens. That's what's amazing about this. Where the hell does it happen? I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this with this high caliber of a type player where we go, like, holy cow, he might have to sit out the start of the year and truly just wait for an injury, or just relegate himself and not take a lot of money and put himself in a good situation to be the backup and hope something happens to then when he takes over it can be positive. But I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't think Cam's going to want to be the backup anywhere, and I don't
No.
think he should be the backup anywhere if he's healthy. The Bears are plus 1,100. That ship has sailed. They traded for Nick Foles. They're not going to go get Cam Newton. That's over. Maybe they would have done it before. They're not doing it now. The Raiders at plus 1,500. That may not be a bad, but what do you do? You got Derek Carr and you got Marcus Mariota. What do you do? Now, look, it's not all that expensive to move on from Derek Carr. He's only got like $2 million or so in guaranteed salary this year, but what would cause you now? I don't know if they could all of a sudden. I mean, I don't know. Maybe John Gruden's got a trick up his sleeve. Maybe John Gruden is waiting for the facilities to open so they can fly Cam Newton to Las Vegas so they can make sure he's healthy. And if he's healthy, do they take him over Derek Carr? I mean, if he's healthy, I'd take him over Derek Carr. Would you?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I mean, Cam Newton's a special game-changing type talent that the stats will never justify the total value of what he brings to the table on a game-by-game basis. He's a game changer. Defenses have to change the way they play defense when Cam Newton's on the field. This is what we've talked about a lot, right, Mike? This is the special thing. This is why he's undefeated against the New England Patriots, because they start going, damn, Bill starts going, damn, I can't play some of the things I want to play because I got to worry about certain things this guy does to a defense, and now I'm out of my comfort zone there. But yeah, I would take them, but I don't think that's going to happen either. I think they're too far down the road, and I think they're going to give Derek Carr his chance here with some talent to see if he can totally justify being that guy for the future.
I would just love to see the images of John Gruden on his tippy toes trying to talk to Cam Newton because let's just say there's a significant height difference between John Gruden and Cam Newton because Cam Newton is a giant and John Gruden isn't. Do you think that would work, that the Cam Newton-John Gruden relationship would work since you were at one point on the other end of the wrath of Gruden on a regular basis?
I do. I think it could work. Yeah. I mean, Gruden, again, he's very creative and smart. He does believe in running the football, as we've seen. He does have a deep playbook of play action passes and things like that. You know, I think Gruden would, you know, if Derek Carr wasn't there, I do think that this would be something they would have thought about. And I do think it would have worked. Gruden loves these type of guys that are game changers like that. You know, what guys like Cam Newton do, and I can totally picture Gruden too, like, hey, big soldier, how do you like this play, big soldier? You like this play? You love football? You know, that's what he would be talking to Cam Newton like. But I do think he would respect the game-changing ability that Cam Newton does have. And for an offensive coordinator, you know, like a Gruden, where Cam Newton is so special is he simplifies defenses because you do have to worry about the quarterback design runs and being outnumbered in certain plays and running schemes and certain things like that, to where now when you drop back to pass, sometimes you go, man, we're going to get to throw this pass play against this basic defense or this, you know, this coverage because they're worried about the run game. Whoa, this is a kid in the candy store type look. And that's some of the value he brings to the table and I think would excite any offensive game designer.
All right, before we go, I want to revisit one last time, although I may regret this, our effort to identify the 10 or 11 relevant teams currently in the NFL. This is a rule of thumb that Sean Payton shared during the draft-a-thon over the weekend. And it's not easy to identify that full list. The first 6 or 7, easy. We established that. Those last few are a little more difficult, Chris. And,
I think the first 9 are, like, let's just say this. I think there's 9 that you and I would agree on, right, for sure. When we go Chiefs, Pats, Ravens, Seahawks, Steelers, Eagles, Saints, Packers, that's 8 right there, right? So
right. 49ers.
When I look at the 49ers. So there's 9. I think there's 9 that I don't think you or I would disagree about relevance, and the organization gets a clue on a year-to-year basis to where they can be consistently a contender or a relevant team that can build something and sustain it in the NFL.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys do not make my list at the end of the day. The Cowboys don't, and it'll be interesting to see if Tom Brady is enough to make the Buccaneers truly relevant. When you consider all the issues that have held that team down, that team has been able to, and I think the one Super Bowl win, that one, now it was the combination of Tony Dungy putting together a great defense, and they knocked on the door, and then after they stupidly fired Dungy, they had just enough of a kick in the pants offensively, put it together with Dungy's defense to win that one Super Bowl. If they hadn't won that one Super Bowl, if they didn't have that one trophy, Chris, I mean, the Buccaneers, over the course of the last 45 years, it's a joke.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, a grand scheme of things, right? From
Right.
an overall organizational standpoint, dysfunction on top of dysfunction on top of dysfunction. But they have the one thing that most other dysfunctional teams don't have. They have a Super Bowl trophy, so they get a little bit of a pass for that.
Well, yeah, they definitely do. But again, I think this is where I go back to what Sean Payton said. I took it more as like, again, the big picture of like, these are the organizations that I think are sustained greatness, goodness, for 4 or 5 year periods. Then they have to rebuild a little bit, and they understand how to rebuild, and they're right back in the mix. To me, that's how I took it with his 10 teams. Yeah, the Bucks, like they're like, the equivalent to like the music industry right now, where, yeah, they're relevant this year. They're a one-hit wonder. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and put the Buccaneers organization, as much as I love them and respect them because of how they treated me, in the same class as the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Ravens, the Seahawks, the Eagles, the Saints, the Packers, the 49ers right now. So, yes, for this year, I'm putting in relevant, but I think like in totality, I don't think they've earned that yet. I think the other teams that we have to talk about that might earn that, or at least are on the fringe, you mentioned one, the Cowboys are on the fringe. How do we feel about the Rams? How do we feel about the Vikings? I think those are the next three teams where I look at as organizational-wise to go relevancy for a long stretch of time here, to where every year we go, damn, they're in the mix for the playoffs and they're in the mix for the Super Bowl conversation.
Yeah, and one team that the fans are not willing to keep in that category, the Patriots. Although you and I agree the Patriots are still there, we are giving deference to what they've done over the last 20 years. I think the absence of a franchise quarterback, a proven franchise quarterback, we don't know what Jarrett Stidham's going to be, but the absence of that proven franchise quarterback is enough to get a lot of people to abandon ship. Although you and I think we agree that it's more complicated than that. There are more factors than that. And even if the Patriots dip in 2020 and don't make it to the playoffs, although I tend to think they will, they'll get back up there at some point. They've got too much between ownership, front office, coaching staff, and their system, the Patriot way. They've got too much to fall off the face of the earth and fall into that pit of 20 irrelevant teams.
No, exactly right. And, is anybody going to be sit here and be shocked if the Patriots win the AFC East this year? I'm not going to be shocked. Am I picking them right now? Probably not. But that's still the best defense in football, and they've made it better in a lot of ways and killed it in the draft. So, yeah, I'm with you. They might not be a Super Bowl contender this year, but still, I think they are very relevant and going to be a pain in the butt and in the conversation for the playoffs all year long. So, yeah, again, it's, we make it again about the quarterback a little too much at times with these conversations too. Jimmy Garoppolo is not one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football. The 49ers are on this list. Kirk Cousins is like, build a team. The team is the most important thing. Then you can find the quarterback. Or within building the team, you can build such a good team that the quarterback doesn't always necessarily need to be that big franchise, I got to carry the squad type guy. But, build the team first. I think too many times in the NFL, we go vice versa. And I just, again, I always go back to one of my talking points. It was just 3 years ago. The Final Four had Nick Foles, Case Keenum, and Blake Bortles. Okay? None of those guys are anything what we talk about franchise. They had good teams, and then they found their role within that team. And I think the Patriots will find their way too.
All right, we have found our way to the end of this edition of PFT OT. We'll be back tomorrow. Remember, I've got Howie Roseman later today on PFT PM, so I'm going to ask him some tough questions. I'm going to make him sweat. I'm putting him under the hot light, even though he's on his own house. I'm going to tell him in his house, Chris, go find a hot light and sit under it for this interview. I'm asking the tough questions.
I like it. Good job. Have fun with Howie. Howie's a great GM. I'm not necessarily in love with his draft this year, but more times than not, I've been on his side with what he does with that organization.
Well, they're one of the relevant teams, and he's one of the reasons why. And I'll break down all the picks with him and all the moves they made, and we'll do that later today on PFT PM. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition of PFT Live. Everybody have a great Tuesday. See you tomorrow.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.